Hey guys, thanks a lot for clicking on this video. This is the first video of our two-part series on savings and investment. In this video, my friend Neha, who is a chartered accountant and also an investment banker, is going to share her tips on savings and risk-free investments. Also, I'm going to share my journey, how I learned savings and investment in Singapore. So let's hear it from Neha Khandelwal. Hey Neha, thanks a lot for joining for the call.
Thanks, Amit. Long time we have been discussing, and now today I guess is the right time when we are shooting for the one of the most ignored topic and most necessary one also. So yeah.
I totally agree with you. This is one of the most ignored topics, and that's why we decided to make a video on this. And the topic is the basics of financial planning and investment. So let's begin. So we will take this video in a very unscripted way because since you are the subject matter expert, that's why I would like you to lead it. And to begin with, I would like you to start with your basics, like how you handle your finances and whatever you have in your mind, like how you want to take it forward.
Thanks, Amit. And regarding money, my concept is a little different, or you can say a more traditional one. Money is earned by anybody, like even I can earn money, anybody could earn money. But creating wealth out of it is the matter of financial literacy, or what we call, or how you can make money work for you. First, you have worked for the money. Now, uh, with all the knowledge of financial literacy, you can always make money work for you, and that's how you create your wealth out of it, and you can convert your normal money into wealth. So yeah, before me going deep diving into much of disciplines and rules and everything, let me ask you. You are like filthy rich person in our group, and I really wanted to know how you have managed your finances till now.
Okay, so to begin with, first of all, I would like to say that I am not at all filthy rich. It's different. Yeah, it's just that we work in different countries, and that's why there are differences in the PPP. So I think we all are in the same position. But I really like the thought of making money work for you. And to begin with, I never realized it, and I never realized the potential of financial planning when I began my career like 5 years back. So when I got my first paycheck around the same time in 2015, I was just overwhelmed with the money. Like I did not even know the difference between needs and wants, and I thought like, okay, let me keep the money in the bank account, and whatever I need, I will just use it, and whatever money is left is my savings. And that was my simple concept. And just a fun fact, in Singapore, the savings bank accounts, like I remember my first bank account was with DBS Bank. It used to give 0.2% interest rate. And that's what I was doing. So yeah, that's what I was doing with my, I would not call savings, but I would call left money. So that's the money that is left with me. So no concept of financial literacy. I just knew this thing that once I buy a house, that's a good investment. And that's the basic thing that I learned from my father. So I was just collecting money here, and later on I decided to buy a house. And once I did the down payment for that, again, I used to not have any money after that because I have spent a lot on that property. And then that became my permanent excuse, that people used to ask me that how much savings you have, like what do you do for your financial planning. I used to say that no man, I just bought a house in India, and that's why I'm not doing anything much. And I think that was a very lame argument and a very lame excuse, because no matter whatever you have invested, even your big chunk of your money is going on an EMI or anything, then also you should definitely think about the financial planning. And I realized this by the end of 2018 when I saw my friends having like 6 figures bank account in Singapore dollars, and I did not have much, I would say. So I thought like, let me just start savings. And I thought like, even though the interest rate is pretty less, how can I get more interest in Singapore so that whatever money I have here. So then I came to know about things like, okay, I don't know what we call it, but it's like an insurance plan where you put money and they invest your money. It's like a mutual fund only, but you can take it out anytime. And they used to give 2.5% interest rate. So I opted for that. That was my first smart move, I would say, because till $10,000 it was covered. So yeah, slowly I also started investing in US markets because my company is US listed, and that also helped me in growing my wealth a bit. And I also kept some money in my fixed deposits in India that can give me like 5 to 6% interest rate in India. So these were the simple things I did, and I think like 1.5 years down the line, I am in a much better shape financially. I would not say I know everything that what I'm doing, but I can say that slowly I have started understanding the nuances of financial planning.
Meaning you just want to take this point ahead that how much of financial planning or a financial discipline, which we could say, is really required with any amount of money you have in your hand. So yeah, I would really say that there is no thumb rule. I won't go and never follow that thumb rule of 50, 30, 20 because it really depends on different kind of people, how their family structure is, what kind of wants are there.
Can you tell more about this 50, 30, 20 rule? Because I don't think many people are familiar about it.
Yeah, so 50, 30, 20 rule on internet, whenever you put financial saving or daily life saving, they'll give you that 50, 30, 20 rule, which says that 50% should be of your total salary should be spent on your daily needs, and then 30% would be on your really wants, like even if you do not fulfill them, you can still carry on your life, but that a particular 30% amount should be set aside for your day-to-day, like any kind of wants, like for a vacation you're thinking, or any kind of small things like vehicle or anything you want to buy, like that, in short term basically. And 20% should go for like long-term savings, for which you'll the portion which you are not going to touch for a long time. So that is the rule. I'm not completely going with the rule, but yeah, from this rule we can adopt some of the finest disciplines which we can follow. Yeah, which we can follow, like how we can bifurcate our 1 lakh into different categories to manage it really well. So not 50, 30, 20, but if you have 1 lakh rupees and say if you have just the fixed expenditure of just 20k, so let it be 20k. Don't make it 50k and then because you have to follow that rule, right? So what I emphasize is, earlier those who do not have this financial literacy would start their financial journey with income minus expenditure would be their saving. And if you have that, if you follow such discipline or adopt such discipline, you will be converting yourself to a person who will be having an equation: income minus saving should be your expenditure.
So let's just start discussing about what to do with that savings and how to invest that. Like, so we will, even though it's your savings, and even if you put it in your bank account, let's call it an investment only to make it a very, very generic term. And we will take the route of least risky to the most risky ways of investment. So please guide us through that journey. Like what is the most basic kinds of savings or investment that is the most low risk?
Sam. So let me put the most important line before going for talking about any investment or any kind of return. First thing one should keep in mind is your return should be always more than the inflation rate in the country in which you are investing. So inflation is one such thing, what we call how expensive one particular item will be for you if you consider that inflation in place. So if you say in India, if you keep your money in your bank account, in your saving bank account, it would give you 3% or 3.5% at max the return rate. But the inflation, if the inflation is itself 4% or 5%, it doesn't make any sense that you are getting any return out of it. I would say it has already nullified or you are in a loss if you consider inflation. So inflation is one such factor which will give you the effective return, means the actual return which you would be getting once you're investing or keeping your money or putting your money anyway.
Okay. So moving forward, can you just tell us about the ways of savings that we were supposed to discuss?
Yeah. So I would say I can take an example. Say I have received my first statement paycheck today, and that is maybe rupees 1 lakh rupees. First thing, if I would consider myself that I do not have any kind of financial guidance or any kind of financial knowledge. I would just I'm just a naive person. I have kept that amount in my bank account only. So I would be withdrawing, maybe I would be getting 3% that interest rate on my saving bank account. Then I would say, if I have to start with, I would first start with the emergency fund account. So emergency fund is nothing but the fund which you have to maintain in any case, and which should be liquid enough that within 2 days of time or 2 to 3 days of time you can have the cash in your hand. If you consider situations like corona, or be it any situation which we call unwanted and which we cannot predict in our life, but there are happenings, so we should be ready with that money. And as a part of prudential and very prudent approach in life, I would suggest it should be 6 months salary that should go in your emergency fund account. After that, you can think of investing or saving or parking your money at any categories which I'm going to talk about now. So moving ahead, once you are done with that, from your 7th month of your paycheck, you can think of investing. So if you're very new, you are not really sure about how much expenses or how much your fixed expense to spend on your daily basis or your monthly basis. You do not have that budget thing with you. You can start with instructing your bank. Many of the Indian banks have this feature in their employee account, that you can instruct them after 30K or whatever minimum balance you want to maintain. Post that, whatever is the balance amount should be converted into FD and should be saved as an FD in your account. So what importance, what help we can get out of it, that slowly and gradually, first thing, we can chalk out that what would be our fixed expense and how much we require for a month. And slowly we know that whatever ideal money is there in our saving account is already getting converted, and we are getting the benefit of withdrawing 5 to 6% interest rate on FD. So that feature is really automatic, that is called as Flexi FD. And the feature also comes with, you can withdraw if you need that money any point in time, whenever there is any kind of emergency or you really need money for any kind of or any sort of thing. But at least for the ideal time or for the ideal amount, you can always opt for this kind of Flexi FD thing, so that you can make most of it. Once you are comfortable with your expenses, which you really have calculated, and you are sure that you are going to spend that much amount in your rent or maybe anything of that sort, that is fixed, you start spending a fixed amount, that if I have received 1 lakh of salary, let me just put it on FD, short-term FD. Start with the short-term FD and start putting like 30,000, 70,000 in the short-term FD thing. That the tenure for short-term FD is 1 to 2 years, and again that will get you 5 to 6% of interest rate in the current market situation.
Okay, correct. So these are the most conventional ways of, like, for example, the Flexi FD and the short-term FD. What about long-term FDs? Can you tell what are the benefits and the harms of that?
So, if you talk about long-term FDs, their tenure is usually 5 years FD, and the major benefit is in your taxation bracket. So, if you are already in 30% slab in India, I'm talking. Whatever taxation matters I would be talking, it would be in terms of Indian taxation system. So yeah, it 30% if you are falling under the bracket of 30%, and if you invest in tax saving FDs of 5 years and or so you would be getting the exemptions, and you would be getting the deduction on its interest when you are receiving it in your account. So that way you can cover that. That will help you to reduce your tax to a certain extent. Plus you're getting the interest also. So it would be a double benefit thing.
Okay, correct. So moving forward, let us talk about some solutions that are not related to banking sector. Uh, like, yeah, you can take it forward.
So yeah, one another thing, important thing, and I guess many of people should opt for this. So if you have heard of provident fund, so when you see your CTC structure, you could see one of the CTC part, one of the part is provident fund, which your employer is already deducting. So in this part, what you have the opportunity, or what from your side, you can ask your employer if they are deducting 12% from your salary, ask them to increase that, so that in hand you are itself getting a less cash in hand, but there itself it is getting parked, and the interest rate on that is again 8 to 10%, which is quite a good interest rate. Plus the interest on the provident fund account is again tax free, so you have again a double benefit over.
So Neha, till now we discussed about flexi FD, short-term FD, long-term FD, and even the voluntary PF. And I think these are the risk-free solutions. Are there any other risk-free solutions you want to discuss, or we will be moving with the solutions that are prone to market risk?
So let me, I guess one of the major or most beloved investments of Indian women, I could say, and I guess many of them has already guessed that that is gold. So yeah, gold is one such risk-free investment which anybody could look forward to. In investing in gold would be of you can take any of the two ways. One is gold souvenir gold bonds are there in the market which you could buy, and one major benefit of getting gold souvenir bond is you can get it in the form of bond. Plus you will always get a fixed rate of interest, meaning see, capital value of gold would be increasing every day by day. Just now we have seen in the pandemic situation only, it was 37K just like 3-4 months before, and today it's sailing at around 55K. So yeah, a huge jump. I would not say, or in no way I'm saying that every time it would be jumping this way. It's like one of the situation. But yeah, if you see a 10 years graph, so you would see that gold has always given you at least close to double impact or double returns. So capital appreciation is always there in gold. Apart from that, if you invest in gold souvenir gold bonds, you will be getting 2.5% of close to that interest, fixed rate of interest on the investment. So that's the one way. Another way to invest in gold is the most traditional method, which is done by moms at home or our parents right from our childhood since we are born, and yeah, for the obvious reasons. So that would be in form of either the jewelry ornaments, or maybe in the form of the biscuits or coins, gold coins, which are maybe 18 karat or 25 karat. Different categories are there. You can buy any of them and keep it safely with the bank lockers or anywhere you find it safe.
Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. Please share the video and subscribe to the channel, and also stay tuned for the next video, that is the part 2 of this series, where we'll be covering risk-prone investment that can give you high returns and also some tax saving solutions. Ciao.